Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we've got a very special broadcast for you. This is the beginning of the on-site reporting with the Action for Assange network. And joining me live from London, she attended all of the protests, has some killer footage. We're going to be showing you that. Her internet connection is not great, but she is extremely intelligent, extremely courageous, and doing what journalists should be doing right now, covering probably the most important free speech case of the last 20 plus years, if not our nation's history. She's Taylor Hudak. How are you, Taylor?
I'm doing well. Thank you for that intro, Jason. And thanks for having me on.
Well, you more than deserve it. So before we even begin, I want my audience to check out your Twitter right now because she is on the ground. I want to play this clip. I believe this is Julian's father in the background.
Julian Assange! Free, free! Julian Assange! Free, free! Julian Assange! Julian Assange! There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition! There's only one decision! No extradition!
And that's really what we need right now. We need people speaking out about this. It's not really piercing the mainstream media in this country. As you said, off air, Roger Waters and some other celebrities are out there in support of Julian Assange. I just want to know, what's it feel like to be down there? And are hopes high in the next couple days when this begins that Assange is going to be able to make his case and hopefully not be extradited?
Oh, absolutely. The energy in London right now is very high and it's very, very positive. People are pumped up, they are ready to go, and they are very passionate, and they are against this U.S. extradition of Julian Assange, and they are in support of him, and they are in support of free speech and a free press. There were so many people out there today, Jason. It was such a good feeling to see all of that. And people were holding signs that read messages in support of Julian Assange, of course, and people were cheering for him. And you could see his father, John Shipton, just beaming with happiness, looking around to see all the support that there is out there for his son. It was really an incredible sight to see.
And obviously, there were headlines in the United States about Julian Assange this week. Nothing to do with the extradition, nothing to do with the illegal indictment. Instead, the press tried to frame a meeting he had with Dana Rohrabacher. By the way, I'm no fan of Rohrabacher. He was one of those guys that said, hey, they're going to drop flowers at our feet after we invade Iraq and bring freedom there. I think he's doing some mea culpas. I think that maybe he's seen the light a little bit. He realizes he was manipulated. He was lied to. So he goes in, he talks to Assange, and he basically just says, provide evidence that what you're saying is true, because 10 months prior to that meeting, he'd already gone public and said it was not Russia, that it was not a nation state. And the press tried to spin it in this country that Trump offered Assange a pardon to lie and say Russia didn't meddle in our elections. Yet the extradition hearings were not even really noted. How did you feel about that press coverage? Because you must have seen it before you left.
Oh, of course, I saw that. I was actually initially very confused by this, and I wondered what the point of this sort of well, I guess I do know what the point of the spin is, of course. They're trying to sell this Russian narrative and further demonize Julian Assange. And while they're at it, further demonize President Trump, really. But I was very confused about the exact nature of what took place during this meeting. I was pleased to see that this particular ex-congressperson did say that he supports Julian Assange and feels that he should be freed. That's what I want to focus on. That's what I think we should all be focusing on as well. He did deny the sort of specifics regarding the exact nature of the exchange he had with Julian Assange. But looking ahead, of course, the full extradition hearing begins on Monday, February 24th. WikiLeaks tweeted out that on Tuesday, we may be learning some more information of what this pardon offer was really about. So it'll be interesting to see if we do learn more and perhaps have the truth come out in that regard.
Well, I'll say this, the Washington Times original headline that was out there said that there was going to be evidence that disproved the Russian narrative after all. And remember, the Mueller report, I've been showing this on air. You Google Russia, it's in there 1,611 times. They proved no collusion. They couldn't even prove obstruction of justice on the other side. Seth Rich is in there 3 times. Now, it should have been headlines that Matt Couch and Aaron Rich, who are on the opposite sides of a lawsuit, one of many, to do with this case of the DNC, of WikiLeaks, of where they originated, both requested that Julian Assange give a deposition. Obviously very able to do it. He's not going anywhere. Yet, the judge refused to allow this to happen. The mainstream media still refuses to report on that. I want to thank Flickoff for that super chat sticker, by the way, my man. Without guys like you, this wouldn't be possible. But it blows my mind that 2 opposing parties in a civil case want a deposition from the guy that facilitated the emails to the world to find out where they came from, and a judge says no, no, no. And then the media immediately, basically within a week, not only uses this Russia smear, but then leaks information that was already a month old on Bernie Sanders, warning him that Russia was behind his election too. They've infiltrated his campaign. So now it's almost like, what does Bernie do? He rode the Russia train and, interference in election. And now that it's swung his way and it's just as phony as a $3 bill, what does he do? I'll tell you what he does. Right now is where he should turn the corner and speak up for Assange and say everything I just said and said we've been had, but I don't see it happening. So, Taylor, you talked about how they may provide more evidence on Tuesday. Do you think finally we are going to see the physical data that proves beyond a reasonable doubt this was not a hack?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I'm a little bit hesitant to make a prediction on that one. I am not so certain that I will say that I think that we will have 100% proof maybe by this week. I do believe, however, that proof is there, but I think we will learn more this week. I would like to obviously see the truth come out in regard to this case. I think looking at the facts of this case and specifically the facts surrounding how that leak was provided to WikiLeaks and given the circumstances surrounding all of that, the case is very much so that it did not come from Russia. We know that Julian Assange had already denied that, as you had said. But I am hopeful that we do learn more information and that eventually the truth does come out.
Action for Assange is the website. By the way, I'm going to be meeting up with Andrew, Christy, and hopefully I'm going to be around for Wednesday with Steve as well. I just plunked down a huge amount of money on a friggin' rental car. I don't want to get into it, Taylor. It was so much. Want to see how spooky Google and YouTube are quickly? So your page, right? We just played that video over on Twitter. This is Big Brother in action, guys. That's the exact car I rented today. That's it. I don't think I said it. I didn't type it in.
Isn't it creepy when that happens?
Oh my! I mean, I literally rented it this morning on a whim because it was all they had. So whatever data they put through for the car I had is what's now being a promoted tweet. When we really want to see actions like this one and people in the media covering this. By the way, you have a YouTube link to Julian's father speaking out. I checked that out. People need to see that video as well. I'm excited. I think that DC is going to have a better turnout than people expect. I hope so. Guys, I'm asking you to come on down. I know Drufus is going to be there, one of the great supporters. I know I'm going to see Erica Jill. Please come, show your support. Talk to people. Most people are super brainwashed and really believe that Russia has been puppeteering our elections for the last 5 years, and somehow Julian Assange is an asset to that. And now, if you feel the burn, so do the Russians. I mean, we need people to speak up. Have you connected with any other journalists out there that you feel are doing a good job and going to help to get this story out?
Interesting you asked that. I am actually going to be working closely with Tarek Haddad. He is formerly of Newsweek. He and I are going to be working together. And in the evenings, remember we're on GMT time. So in the evenings after court has wrapped up, he and I will be hosting a podcast where we discussed everything that took place that day. He'll have some more information with regard to what happened inside the courtroom. I'll be outside the courtroom talking to activists and covering the different protests and demonstrations. And we will also be having some very, very special guests that I think your viewers would be interested in hearing from. I don't want to give any names just yet because we're still finalizing all of that, but I can assure you that it's going to be a very interesting podcast. And again, that is on the evenings during this upcoming week. After the court proceedings, we are on GMT time, so it will probably be during the day for you guys.
It'll be right around now, right? Because it's like 8:30 there. Right here is 3:30. So if you're on Eastern time around 3:30, it'll be about noon or so on the other side. Forget about the guests.
And you can catch that.
What's that?
Also, too, I just want to make note, you can catch our podcast on The Watchdog on YouTube.
Okay.
That is where you will find this podcast. It is a news organization that Tarek Haddad had just created and plans to kind of establish into an investigative journalism organization.
And by the way, folks, just so you understand who Tarek Haddad is, and I need to book him on the show. I haven't had him on. He's the person that quit Newsweek because he was the one mainstream journalist outside of Tucker Carlson that wanted to talk about the leaked OPCW reports that guess who were facilitated by? WikiLeaks, still the most important publisher on the frickin' planet when it comes to exposing evil, false flags, things you can actually say, oh my God, there was no gas attack in Duma, yet the missiles were very real afterwards. And our U.S. military presence is very real after April 2018 when that happened, and we're not getting out. So kudos to him. Please tell him I am a big fan of what he's done, and it's really great to hear that you guys are hooking up to do something even bigger, because that's what needs to happen. We got to keep going, and that's why we need this audience out there in D.C. Hey, I got a European audience. If you can get out in London, they need you there right now. I mean, these actions are taking place, I would assume, as well tomorrow and throughout the week, correct?
Monday outside of Belmarsh Prison in London, there will be a peaceful demonstration, a peaceful protest at 9:30 a.m. I believe court begins at around 9 a.m. So do attend that event, and even throughout the rest of the week as well. There's going to be a lot of support there for Julian Assange. It's important that we show ourselves in numbers and be physically present if you can make it. It was really inspiring to be there today at this march. And I think that being a part of that is a great way to take a peaceful and important stance against the U.S. government's attack on the First Amendment.
Absolutely. And remember, when you now have a president signing off on that National Counterintelligence 2020 to 2022 document, literally talking about Russian interference in elections, signing off on it, and then the next dozen pages or so are equating hacktivists, the new term leaktivist that never existed before. Either you were a whistleblower that leaked documents or you were an anonymous source that leaked documents. That's it. You weren't a leaktivist. Yeah, I mean, you really are just taking issue with one thing. You know, most of these people that come out, it's not like they're leaking a bunch of stuff to the media all the time. No, they're involved with something that's sickening to them, aka Chelsea Manning, and then they give that to somebody and it gets published. They're not a leaktivist. It's ridiculous. And then on top of that, public disclosure organizations. Doesn't matter what you're disclosing is true. Doesn't matter if it's exposing murder, genocide, rape. It just doesn't matter. You are now equated with Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Iran. I mean, they're all in there. It's unbelievable. And this president is rolling with it. And that's why, you know, I hope that we could reach some of that quote unquote MAGA crowd that couldn't wait for the WikiLeaks, couldn't get enough of the WikiLeaks, loved the WikiLeaks 4 years ago, but now are dead silent, Taylor.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There is no better way President Trump to stand up to what he calls the deep state and the intelligence community than to offer not offer a pardon, because that would mean he would be taken to trial and convicted, but to drop these charges before he even has to go to trial. Trump should drop these charges. I'm calling upon him to do so. I am calling upon all the politicians out there to do the right thing, advocate for the dropping of these charges. It's so anti-American. And, the right in the Republican Party, which Donald Trump has, ran as a Republican, of course, his party and the people that follow him claim to be constitutionalists and people that love America. This is a very anti-American thing that is happening. This prosecution of Julian Assange is anti-American.
1,000% it's anti-American. It's anti-free speech, and it's tightening that grip that I would say was exacerbated by 9/11 in the Bush administration, continued through the Obama administration, and despite all the rhetoric that Trump gave us on foreign policy, and despite saying things like, I want out of Syria and it's time to go, look where we are. And that's it. I mean, you have to hone into reality. There are so many people that want to believe in, I don't know, superheroes on message boards, that Julian Assange is going to get extradited here and he's going to give all the evidence, and now McCabe's going to be arrested and Comey's going to be arrested and Hillary Clinton's going to be arrested with the Podesta brothers. I'd love to see that. That's a fantasy. That's fantasy world. Andrew McCabe isn't getting prosecuted for anything, and he was Seymour Hersh's source that the FBI did, in fact, investigate Seth Rich. Let that sink in. Get it right. Get to common sense, people. And you can do that by coming out and taking action, like myself, like Taylor. You can also start a blog. Taylor, you started by doing print and not videos, and now you're doing videos, you're doing podcasts, you're doing on-ground journalism. I mean, in a very, very short amount of time. So before we go, why don't you tell my audience how you took that first step and then that next step happened and how you're here today and how much time it's taken?
Yes. So I have to credit my colleague and my good friend, Andrew Smith, in this. I was a journalist focused on print and not really involved in independent media much at all. And Andrew and I met each other by being on a podcast. And that was around the time where Unity for J ceased doing the vigils. And Andrew said, we should do the vigils. We need to do them. We should pick them back up. And I was like, okay, maybe. And then he's like, we're going to start it on this date. And I was like, okay. And as it got closer, I was like, Andrew, I can't do this. There's no way. Like, I can. I was just a little bit unsure of myself and hesitant to put myself out there about this. And he said, no, it's for a greater good. You have to do this. I am so happy that I listened to him and that I did this because it's so important. And I just felt very passionately about this cause and felt that somebody needed to continue to talk about it every single week. And so that's why I decided to put kind of my own hesitations aside to just go for it. And Christy Doff, who is one of our other co-hosts, she was the first guest on the vigils, and we just really liked her so much and liked what she had to say and her work and her activism that she joined us. And then I just continued to speak out about Julian Assange and speak out in favor of free speech and a free press. And you just kind of have to get over that fear that you may have and just go and do it. And now I've actually been helping other people who are thinking about speaking out publicly on these issues and encouraging them to go for it. And that looks different for everybody. Not everybody's a journalist, but just putting your opinions out there in a way that's educational, logical, and easy way to understand is very important. So I encourage everybody to not be shy in expressing their opinions.
So it's been about what, maybe 2 years?
Great. No, it hasn't even been 2 years. Will be a year in June.
Wow. So in less, I mean, that's very accelerated, folks. In 12 months to literally just start writing posts and maybe be on a podcast, doing what she's doing is awesome. And it shows how anybody can get involved. And really, your level of involvement is up to you. But listen, what are you more afraid of? Speaking out now or not being able to speak out later? And, I'll just say this. When you look at what's happening in China, and no matter what you believe, information is hard to come by. It's squeezed down. They live in a police state. They're unarmed. They can't speak out. They can't say things. So God knows what that looks like if that comes here. And if we allow Assange to be extradited, if we allow our government to say that, oh, well, you're a public disclosure organization, terrorist, we have lost the game. It is over. I mean, dead over. We're already on Skid Row, guys. It's time to stand up and fight back, and Taylor's doing it. I love what you're doing, Taylor. I can't wait to go see everybody over in D.C. We're going to keep in touch, and hopefully I'm going to have you on the next couple days, even before I get out there, and then after I get back. Sound good?
Yes, of course. I'd love to update you and your audience on this case. It's very important. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. She is Taylor Hudak. You can follow her at _Taylor Hudak on Twitter right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. That way you can see everything going down live. Remember, I'm going down to DC. All right. I just plunked down $800 on that car. I get $200 back as long as nothing goes wrong. I didn't even get the best insurance. Hertz wouldn't rent to me. I don't know where my thing goes, but Hertz wouldn't rent to me. I knew there was going to be an issue. Luckily, I got the car. I'm probably going down late Sunday night, early Monday morning. I want to be the first one down there. I really just want to stream from the streets and see what's going on and then go see what the actions are like. So, again, thumbs this video up, subscribe, join the Burmese Brigade. If you can give, please do. We're doing all sorts of topics here. We just did a big Epstein video. Obviously, the Assange stuff is extremely important. We might even be talking a little Bloomberg. We did an Ilhan Omar video because the evidence of that weirdness is now overwhelming. I also put out bonus content. 5 videos a week you don't get on YouTube. For premium subscribers over at rockfin.com. It's $9.99 a month, and it's not just me you get. It's like a Netflix of creators. So there's a bunch of other people on there, like Graham Elwood, like Ron Placone, Taylor and the gang at Action for Assange are also going to be over there shortly. So I just want to say this, guys. Get involved. When I got involved, I started making documentary films. Now I'm talking to you here. I will be on the streets. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best thing since breakfast. I make mistakes. But all of us do. We're human beings. And we should be allowed to make those mistakes. And speak out when making those mistakes or just doing the right thing might be frowned upon in a way that lumps you into the terrorist pile. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here, right now, in the documentaries playlist section. Remember, make sure you thumbs the video up on the way out. Hit the comments section. And guys, I absolutely love you. I'll see you on the flip.